Hello, lit uppies. Happy Monday. I am having such a happy Monday. I am packed. I leave early tomorrow morning, very early tomorrow morning for Switzerland. I'm super excited, but like so happy I get to be here with you guys today to be able to share this before I leave, because I think this topic is so useful. Is something I wish I had thought about even earlier in my business. And so just super excited to get to share that with you. I do want to tell you a quick little story because I had shared it in my celebration yesterday. Hey, Debbie, about my trip, but I had this like great little manifesting story, and I had mentioned it yesterday and said if I remembered I would share it on my live today. And I remembered, so here we go. So random, but Kenny and I are going to Switzerland tomorrow, and when I had booked that, I didn't really have like real plans in place or whatever. We kind of just had 5 cities we were picking from, and Switzerland was really, I've been once, but I've been to Interlaken, which is not where we're going. And it was like the only one that Kenny hadn't been to. And so I had like asked for, people to give us hotel recommendations, and someone whose opinion I like really trust said, well, you have to stay at this one hotel. It's like one of the best hotels I've ever stayed at in the world. It's amazing. Go there. And long story short, so I was like, of course, like, of course you give the best advice, gonna do that. And thank you, Debbie. Thank you. And so I go to book the hotel, and it is like wildly expensive. It was like, I think at the time it was like $3,000 a night, let's say. Pretty sure it might have been a little bit more. And like, listen, I obviously make really good money, but I also am like very intentional and have priorities around how I spend it. And so for me, like, could we afford that? Of course, but like, do I want to? Not really, right? Like, I'd much rather invest that than have that spent on a hotel potentially. And so I kind of went back and forth, like, maybe not, like, doesn't really feel like it's like top priority as far as like that much cash, that kind of thing. But I just kept feeling like, no, I really feel like I'm meant to go there. So I just was like holding the intention, like I'm meant to go there, but it's like not at that price point. And so I had looked at it a ton of times on TripAdvisor, just like, visualizing it and seeing it and whatever. And basically, I think I had looked at it so many times on TripAdvisor that they like knew I was interested. And so I got an email one day that was like, the hotel that you've been viewing, its prices are lower or something like that. Prices have been dropped or whatever. So I went back in, and literally, you guys, I am not kidding you. This hotel was about like a little more than a quarter of what the initial price was per night. And I like messed with the dates a little bit to see like did they just like change their prices in general? Is that just for this period of time? And I swear, any dates I picked other than the exact dates we were going to be there for, the price went back up. So anyway, so excited because we're staying at this hotel, totally manifested that it was like exactly within our price range. We are staying there the whole time. And it was just like one of those really cool things of just like being detached, like of just like being like, this is what I want. This is how I want it to play out. And like, I could do it this way, but this way doesn't feel as good. And I want it to look like this, and like, let's just see what happens. And it totally did. So that's a good lesson in business. Not at all related to the live stream today. I will get to that, but just like had to share that because I feel like I love those moments of just remind you, like, this is truly how you have to show up to get what you want. Like that certainty, but that detachment. Like I wasn't like, oh my God, my trip will be ruined if I can't stay here. Like I could, I just like didn't want to in that situation. So I was like detached from it. Like I was like, oh, I would love for it to look like this. Let's see what happens, And I actively participated in that in the sense that like, I went to the website, I visualized it, I looked at it, I felt like I was supposed to be there, but like, it wasn't like, and my trip will be ruined if I don't. So such a good business lesson, clarity, detachment for the manifesting win. So anyway, that is where I'm going tomorrow. So excited. But let's talk today about the #1 way to create demand in your business and to sell out. If you're here, say hi. I see so many people jumping on. Thank you for being here. Okay, so basically, I'm going to walk you through like a ton of examples, but you guys know I never save like the punchline, so we're just going to get to it. But the number one way to create demand is to know the thing that gets people to buy from you and work that thing. But here's the kicker. It cannot be all the things, right? Your thing cannot be so many different things. You have to know absolutely what your thing is and sell to that. So it might be about lifestyle, it might be about exclusivity, it might be about a great price point, whatever it is, like you have to know what that is to create demand in your business. And I'm going to give you a bunch of examples of this if this isn't landing yet, but I cannot stress this enough. What I see so many people do is try to be all of those things, and they wonder why shit's not taking off. And the reason shit's not taking off is because they are not even clear on what their thing is. So their audience isn't clear on what their thing is. So if you know what your thing is, tell me. We're going to get into it more, but if you're watching now or watching the replay and you know what your thing is, like give us an example of that so people can hear that from you. So I'll give you some examples. So one for me is that Kenny was traveling recently and he went to this bar that had like 12 seats in it. And he was telling me like they had a line out the door. People were waiting for over an hour to get in. It was like such a fucking cool experience. Like he felt like it was so amazing, like the care they took with their drinks and like their customer service. And like, it was just like this amazing experience and people were so willing to wait for it, right? And I was commenting to him like how impressed I am that they know what their value is and they keep it that way. Like so many businesses would go, oh, we have people waiting. Let's expand as fast and as quickly as possible, right? You guys know what I mean, right? And so they'd blow their business up like, you know, try to get all those people in, go buy a bigger space, go hire more staff, go do all this stuff. Like we have people waiting. We have to serve them, right? But sometimes in that expansion is when businesses lose their magic. They're not the exclusive bar anymore that people are willing to wait for. Maybe their drinks aren't as good because they're trying to produce them way faster. Maybe their customer service goes down because they're trying to expand so fast, right? A lot of businesses tank this way because anytime they see an opportunity for money, they just want to take it. They're like, cool, we don't have to be the exclusive place anymore. Now we're the place that does this and does this and does this and does this, right? And it really shifts from being like that amazing bar that I'd wait an hour for and tell all my friends about how amazing it is and where I feel taken care of and whatever, to like another bar that's not that bad. Do you guys get what I'm saying with this? Where like sometimes we forget what gives us the magic and we're just going after what's in front of us. So what's giving them the magic is the fact that they have a line out the door. What's giving them the magic is the fact that they have 12 seats. What's giving them the magic is how much they care for the people in those 12 seats. Does that make sense? Can I get an emoji? Can I get a something if that makes sense to you? And so many businesses are just so quick to chase the cash that's in front of them, right? Like they see a line out the door and they're like, oh, okay, we just have to serve those people more and better and faster and bigger. And it's like, but like the real job is to figure out how to do that potentially without losing the magic. And most people aren't patient enough to know what their thing is and build off that, right? Most people just want to run for it. Like, oh, there's people waiting. Cool, cool, cool. Let's expand. Let's get a bigger space. Let's do this. And they're not being strategic about it at all. And they're not thinking about what has made them what they are, right? They are not thinking about like their brand, right? And it sounds so cheesy to say that, but it's so important. Like you create demand by knowing what that is for you, right? So let me give you another example. It doesn't have to be a bar with 12 seats, right? But another example is like Walmart. They know their value is price, right? They're not worried about you having the most luxurious shopping experience. They're not like trying to be like Target and make it super nice and all this stuff, right? Like they know their value is to give you the best price, right? If they started carrying a bunch of like high-end stuff in their stores because some of their market also buys high-end, they would like lose their magic. Like the value of going to Walmart is to know you're getting the best deal there is, right? Anything not that starts to make it just another thing. It no longer is like the place I have to go when I want the best deal, right? Like they lose the market then because it's like, well, I don't know because like they used to have good deals, but now they have all this other stuff and I'm not sure. So it's like, it's no longer the place to go to get the best deal. Just like the bar that expands super fast is no longer the place to go to have this like exceptional drink and exceptional experience and exceptional service. You know what I mean? Debbie says, totally makes sense. I often talk about being a specialist, which I think is similar here. Yeah, totally. I mean, the way we create demand is to know what our thing is and to create demand around that. So for Walmart, they know their thing is to have the lowest prices. All of their marketing, all of their demand, everything they're doing is around that. They're like, we have the best price, we have the best price, we have the best price. Like every commercial, everything is going to be centered around come here to get the best price, right? Just like that bar, every piece of marketing is going to be centered around come here to have this exceptional experience that, you know, is like super exclusive, right? And I'm not saying you can't grow and scale, but I'm saying that if you know your thing and build around that thing, you can actually keep your brand intact and continue to have consistent buyers, right? If you forego your thing just for the sake of growth, it's not going to be what you want it to be. Personally, I have seen so many people in the online space blow up because they had a thing, right? Like their demand point was so clear and they were selling out. And then they just ended up tanking their businesses because they tried to then do everything. They like left the thing that blew them up behind and started trying to do everything. Personally, I just celebrated a Lit Up Life's 4-year anniversary. And I'll tell you something that's interesting is that most of the people that were like really big in this industry when I started aren't the people that are big anymore at all, honestly. Like I could share their names and you wouldn't even know who I'm talking about. And I won't because that's not the point and that's not what I'm trying to say. But the point is when you try to scale in every way, you're losing the thing that creates real demand for you, right? And that is so damaging sometimes because your audience bought because you created demand around a specific thing. And when you fracture that off and go in so many directions, right? And you're just like, I see people waiting here. So like, let me create something for this. And I see this opportunity. Let me put money here. You're no longer being strategic. You're literally just throwing shit at the wall because somebody's potentially waiting there to buy it. But like, that's not what creates long-term scalability and sustainability. Having someone to buy can change tomorrow. Does that make sense? Like Walmart has buyers right now because they have the best value. If they stopped doing that, those buyers would go somewhere else. Like you're not guaranteed buyers just because they're in front of you right now. Does that make sense? And so I think that's a really important piece to consider here around demand is that like your buyers aren't what makes you a business, right? And they're not guaranteed. You're knowing your thing and what creates demand and what actually gets you sales is what makes you a business. It's what makes you a brand and it's what makes you successful long-term. Does that make sense? So if you're listening, can you tell me what your thing is? I'm either thinking like you don't know, and that's okay too, or you don't want to brag about it and say, and you should get over that, or you just don't feel like typing. But either way, I think it would be really helpful if everyone that's listening told us what their thing is, because not only is it helpful to hear other people's examples, but I love to riff off your questions and examples too. So let me know what those are. Okay, so I'll give you mine. I'll tell you what my thing is. I totally resonate with being the bar with 12 seats, right? Like I really, really value like super high touch service. I value being able to really give amazing like sort of drinks, so to speak, but like a really amazing product. I think my clients get really exceptional results because of that high touch, right? Because of that exclusivity, because I'm not serving 120 people, I'm serving 12. You know what I mean? And like that has always been what's true for me. And the reason I've been able to sustain this business and grow it year over year and be multi-six figures for, you know, multiple years now and make more every year is because I know that's my thing. And because I'm not like, whatever, there's more people that want to buy. Let me open up a bunch of shit for them here. Buy, 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 buy. Because that's not what works for me, right? Lisa said her thing is divorce. She's a certified financial analyst, divorce mediator, and divorce coaching. Beautiful, Lisa. I went through divorce. I know how much that's needed. Caitlin, I asked, what is your thing? So like, what is the thing in your business that creates demand for you? Like, what's the thing that makes you unique and special? Like, what is like your thing, right? So again, for me, my thing is like high touch, it's exclusivity, it's like being the bar with 12 seats, right? With the line out the door, quite honestly, like I've had a waiting list most of my business. And that's why my brand has grown for those 4 years. Now, here's the difference. It might not mean the biggest revenue numbers right out of the gate, but here's what it means for me. It's exceptional take-home cash, like net profit, right? And really, really happy clients that recommend us and are repeat customers. And that's the same thing with the bar with 12 seats, right? Like repeat customers, people that are willing to wait, people that recommend you, people that are coming back again and again, and growth year over year over year, while keeping your expenses down. They're not going and hiring 100 more people and opening, 10 more locations. And there's something to be said for noticing that sometimes different business models make a big difference in that way, right? Like that business model works because it's a good one and it works. It doesn't have to be yours, but it's worth noting that like, if you know what your model and your thing is, it's so much easier to keep your eye on the prize, right? Jessica says her thing is being a compassionate intellectual. Love that. Hey, Jen. So I'll say that, like if I let that go and just started to serve everyone and, like my service and high touch experience went down, I know that my brand would suffer. But literally the reason I've been making multiple six figures and growing every year and sticking around in this industry when I see many people aren't, as I said before, is because I totally get that and I'm willing to play the long-term game, right? And I see this in my clients all the time too. I'm always working with them to help them define their thing. So I'll give you another example. Like one of my clients and I were recently talking about if a recession occurs and how her thing is so fucking sustainable during that time. And we're continuing to refine the messaging around that more and more because we know her thing. And we know that even in a changing market, even in a changing economy, like we know how to create demand around it because it's so clear what her demand generating thing is, right? And so that's why it's so useful because we are playing the long-term game, right? We're going like, I know this is it. And like, I know even in a changing marketplace, even if the recession hits, my thing is so spot on for that. And I can keep refining my messaging around it to create real lasting demand, right? Because like I said, the buyers can go away. Like your message and your thing is what creates real demand. Just having buyers right now could shift if a recession starts, right? Real demand is different. Caitlin says her thing is in OBM, where I help my clients create efficiencies in their business. The thing that sets me apart is that I have a background in marketing, so I also help my clients with marketing strategy too. Beautiful. Debbie says my thing is building deep relationships with people to have a loyal client base who end up doing my marketing for me. Love that. Awesome, awesome, so good. So yeah, like truly, like knowing that demand, that's how you sell it fast, and that's how you continue to scale. Like, let me give you another example. So like another client of mine creates like a ton of demand by being really specific around selling more of the lifestyle side of her business. So she showcases her lifestyle, the results, or like the results in the lifestyle that gets her a ton, and that creates a lot of demand and a lot of buyers. So anytime we're selling something, we're asking ourselves, how can we focus on that one demand creating thing, right? Like we know for her it's lifestyle. So in a launch, we're going to be asking ourselves, like, how do we create demand around that? How do we focus on that one demand creating thing, right? For me, where I'm creating demand is the exclusivity. Like, how are we focused on that? Like, how can we show people like the high touch and exclusive experience and being the bar, with the hour-long wait? Like, if I know what that is, it's so easy to keep speaking to it and marketing to it and doing that. If I don't know what that is, then I'll just kind of flip with the changing things that I hear. Like, oh, I hear I should do this. I think it would be good to do this. I should expand in this way. I should expand. Very much goes to the point we talked about last week. You can catch that live stream. It's probably marked as an announcement in the group, which was that the question you have to stop asking yourself is this a good idea? And you have to be thinking about it strategically. This is exactly it. Like, it's not just good enough to know like, oh, I'm good at this thing. You have to know what your model is and how to create demand around it and be really strategic about that, because again, like buyers can go away. You have to know how to create your own demand. Susie says she's a designer and stylist and rents dresses. Beautiful. Hey, Stephanie, thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here. So like, obviously it's different for everyone. You know, most of my clients are not the 12-seat bar, quite honestly, like I am, which I love. Like, I love that we're all doing it different and that nobody has, you know, the same model. But like, when you know that thing, you can actually be strategic about scaling. And I cannot stress this enough. I think so many people get to a point in building their business where they're just trying everything that seems like it might work or seems like a good idea or that somebody else is doing. And it is like the kiss of death in business. If you know your thing and you scale strategically to that, like for example, we've known our thing at A Lit Up Life. We've literally created scalable one-on-one because we've known our thing and focused on our thing, and we were patient enough to wait for the right idea to do that, right? But as the you know, things shift, I mentioned the recession before, whether that happens or not, but like, as the market changes in the coaching industry, even like, let alone the economy changes, you can know what to keep truly leaning into that works, right? Versus feeling like you have to rework your entire business or your entire message as the market shifts. Like, to my point earlier about how like I've seen so many people come and go in this industry, I think that's why, because I think that when the market shifts, they're reworking everything. They're like creating these whole new offers. They're trying to create demand in all these different ways. They're throwing spaghetti at the wall. They're assuming their buyers are always going to be there. They have not focused on the one thing that creates demand, right? Hey, Patricia. And again, I think that that's why, like for my client that I mentioned earlier, I think for A Lit Up Life, like we will continue to be there as market shifts because we know what our value point is and we know how to create demand around it, right? And so if you're listening to this and you're thinking like, fuck, I really don't know, like that's something that you get to figure out now, and that you, I don't want to say have to figure out now, but like that would serve you very well to figure out now in a shifting market and a shifting economy. Because truly being able to know that is what keeps you steady. And I really believe this is where amazing coaching comes in, is actually figuring out what that is for you and having someone to keep you on track with that. I feel like that's something I keep my clients on track with all the time. Like, cool, that's a good idea, but it's not a good idea for you because strategically it doesn't make sense based on the fact that your thing is this and the way we're positioning it is this and the demand we're creating is this, right? Because it's easy to get distracted by things, and it's really hard to see, you know, like your own forest through the trees. But like having somebody that can help you do that is going to help you continue to create that demand and sell out. Like for example, for me, because I've known this, like we've totally been able to be innovative and create a business model that serves us and continue to be the 12-seat bar with expanding revenue, right? And I think that's so exciting, but it would have been so easy to not do that, quite honestly. It would have been so easy to get distracted. It would have been so easy to sell a bunch of other things. And I don't know that this business would still be around and be as successful as it was if we had done that. So I cannot stress enough how important this is, to know your thing, to know your model, and to create demand around it and lean into it, right? What I see too often is that a lot of people are trying to do it like someone else is doing it, and it's messy. It's so messy because it doesn't match your business model. If you can get the right support to figure out your demand creating thing and your business model, and then use that to be intentional and strategic about your growth and scaling, you're almost guaranteed to stick around because like your brand is so fucking clear at that point. Like your way of selling is so easy and it's replicable, right? If you miss that mark and you're just selling different things based on where the buyers sit at any given time, you will feel so distracted and so uncertain, and any change in the market, the economy, whatever, will start to make you crazy and you will lose your ground. And it's so easy to self-sabotage from there. Like, again, I hate to say it, but I've just seen this, like in looking back at the industry and thinking about like being in it the past 4 years, the people who I have seen stick around versus the people who I've seen go, or the ones that were willing to be patient and play the long-term game and stick to their model and create demand around it. And the people that didn't got the quick win and then abandoned ship, so to speak, in the thing that was making them win, and then just struggled, right? And like, again, a lot of them are not around anymore. Well, I mean, they're around, but I don't think they are even have coaching businesses, or are not necessarily ones that you would know of anymore. And I really feel like that's such a big reason. I'm like so much better than I have been. You guys know I've been sick for a couple of weeks. Sometimes when I talk, I still get like, good thing we're on a podcast break. So anyway, that is my advice for you today. Like, figure out what that thing is, build your business model around it, and be fucking relentless about sticking to that, because that is the way that you will know how to create demand, actually know how to sell out, and feel confident and secure and grounded in your business during a changing market. If you don't do that and you change with the market, that's how you can take a very successful business and honestly lose a lot of it. And I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying it because I think this is like really, really relevant information that nobody is talking about necessarily. And like when people say build a brand, like I really think that this is like what we should be talking about. It's like, know what creates your demand and build a sustainable business model around that. Like I just can't tell you enough how much it serves me at a Lit Up Life that like we know that our thing is being that 12-seat bar, and that I'm not distracted by the shiny objects of like, but what if we decided to be, you know, a 50-seat bar with 3 locations? Like we could, it's just not the strategic move for us. And it's not what makes us money. It's not what's ever created demand. It's not what makes us happy. And again, it doesn't mean you can't scale. We are absolutely scaling our model. And it doesn't mean this is the right model, right? My point is just that knowing it informs all of your decisions. And it truly, in my opinion, creates an aligned business. And not knowing it is what makes all of your decisions hard and creates a messy business. And so that is my call to you today. Know your freaking thing. Know how to create that demand around it. Have a model that's actually scalable, and get the right support to keep you on track with that and to keep asking you those questions. Because if you don't, it's so easy to get off track. I've had so many people suggest so many different things to me for a Lit Up Life, and I'm so fucking glad I didn't listen to most of it, because that's why we're still here. That's why we make more money year over year. That's why, you know, we're 3 years into being multi-6 figures. That's why we take home an amazing, you know, percentage of our income. That's why our margins are fantastic, like because we stayed focused on all of that. So that is my call to you this week. I hope that all of you do that. If you have any questions around this, if there's anything I can answer for you, please let me know. If you want a coach that's going to actually help you figure that out and hold you accountable to that, feel free to book a call with me. I love you guys. I will see you when I get back from Switzerland. Have a beautiful week. Bye, y'all.